the superpower that's secretly a cage and why we keep the door locked. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred pause Black women have been waiting for. I'm LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I recently had the honor of sitting down with Yolanda Harrington, a woman whose work is quietly revolutionizing how we think about resilience, community, and the courage it takes to keep showing up when the world keeps showing out. Yolanda's impact isn't loud or flashy, but it's deep. It's intentional and it's making the world softer, stronger, and more whole for women who've been taught that survival is the only option. Her insights don't just inspire, they ignite. And if you've ever felt like you're running on fumes, like your dreams are valid, but your energy is gone, like you're tired of being strong all the time, this conversation is for you. Let's start here. There's this thing we do as Black women, especially those of us who've been grinding since we could walk. We turn survival into an identity. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. We say yes when we mean no. We carry everyone's burdens and call it love. And somewhere along the way, we forget that we were never meant to live like this. We were meant to bloom, not just endure. We were meant to rest without apology, to laugh without guilt, to dream without asking for permission first. But here's the twist: it's survival is seductive. It feels productive. It feels noble. It feels like proof that you matter, that you're needed, that you're valuable. And so we keep going, keep pushing, keep grinding until one day we wake up and realize we've built an entire life around staying afloat instead of actually living. We've turned resilience into a cage and then convinced ourselves it's a crown. Yolanda Harrington reminded me of something I think we all need tattooed on our hearts. Resilience is essential, but it's not supposed to be your entire personality. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to say, I'm tired and I need something different now. You're allowed to stop performing strength and start actually feeling safe enough to be soft. Let me tell you about Ebony Kareem. She's the founder of Embarcus Solutions and the Beauty Genie. And if you don't know her story, you should. Ebony is a Black woman who walked into federal contracting and tech, two industries that weren't exactly rolling out the red carpet for someone who looked like her. And she didn't just survive, she built an empire. She faced skepticism, rejection, and every flavor of doubt you can imagine. People questioned her credentials, her vision, her right to even be in the room. And you know what she did? She became a lifelong learner. She sought mentorship. She built strategic relationships. She used rejection as rocket fuel. But here's what makes Ebony's story so powerful. And here's what Yolanda Harrington would want you to understand. Ebony didn't just hustle harder, she hustled smarter. She didn't just grind herself into the ground trying to prove she belonged. She built something so undeniable that the industry had no choice but to make room for her. Today, Ebony operates beauty vending machines on college campuses and in retail spaces, teaches STEM to young women of color, manages multiple businesses, and mentors the next generation of entrepreneurs. She didn't wait for permission. She didn't wait for the industry to change. She changed it herself. And in doing so, she opened doors for women who are coming up behind her, women who now see that it's possible because Ebony proved it was. That's what resilience looks like when it's paired with purpose. It's not just about surviving the storm, it's about building something so solid that others can take shelter there too. It's not about grinding until you break, it's about being strategic enough to build something that lasts. It's not about proving you're strong enough to carry the weight, it's about being wise enough to put some of it down. But here's the thing Yolanda Harrington emphasized in our interview, and I think this is where we get it twisted sometimes. Resilience doesn't mean you have to do it alone. It doesn't mean you can't ask for help. It doesn't mean you have to keep grinding until your body gives out and your spirit goes numb. Resilience means you keep going, yes, but it also means You're wise enough to know when to rest, when to pivot, when to say, this path isn't serving me anymore, and I'm brave enough to choose a different one. Let's talk about Embrace Dreams Company for a second. This is a Black family owned clothing line and podcast founded by Samaj Mills in Philadelphia. And it's not just a brand, it's a movement. Samaj and the team created something that speaks directly to dreamers, to people who've been told their goals are too big, their resources too small, their background too humble. They built a platform that fosters conversations about growth, relationships, culture, and the audacity to believe that generational wealth is possible, even when you're starting from scratch. The founders of Embrace Dreams Company face the same barriers so many of us know too well: limited access, limited resources, limited belief from the outside world. But they didn't let that stop them. They created a brand that says your dreams are valid, your hunger matters, and your persistence will pay off. And now they're not just building a business, they're building a legacy. They're sparking conversations. They're reminding people that passion and persistence can transform lives and communities. They're proving that you don't need a trust fund or a fancy degree or a perfect plan to build something that matters. You just need vision, grit, and the willingness to keep showing up, even when the world keeps showing out. That's the second thing Yolanda Harrington wants us to remember. Your journey can inspire and uplift others. When you show up, even on the days when you don't feel like it, even when you're scared, even when you're tired, you're creating a blueprint for someone else. You're proving that it's possible. You're giving someone permission to dream bigger, to try harder, to believe that they deserve softness and success and joy. You're becoming the permission slip someone else needs to believe that their dreams are valid too. And that brings me to the third lesson, the one that honestly made me tear up a little when Yolanda Harrington said it. Cultivate joy and self worth even in the face of adversity. Try to find reasons to smile. Honor your own growth. I know that sounds simple, maybe even a little too soft for some of you who are used to armor and hustle and never letting them see you sweat. But listen, joy is not a luxury. Self worth is not something you earn after you've checked off every box on your to do list. These things are your birthright. And if you don't protect them, if you don't prioritize them, you will lose yourself in the grind. You will wake up one day and realize you've spent your entire life proving you're worthy of love, of rest, of softness, of peace, and you forgot to actually give those things to yourself. Let me tell you about Ursula Burns. She's the first Black woman to ever lead a Fortune 500 company. The first. Let that sink in. Ursula didn't just break a glass ceiling, she shattered it, swept up the pieces, and then turned around to mentor the next generation so they wouldn't have to bleed the way she did. She faced systemic obstacles, skepticism about her leadership, and the exhausting reality of transforming spaces that were never built for her. But she refused to wait for permission. She refused to shrink. She built her own blueprint for success, and now she's passing that blueprint on. Ursula Burns received the Trailblazer Award, led Xerox as CEO, and now serves on multiple boards. But more than that, she's a living testament to what's possible when you refuse to let adversity define you. She redefined what strength looks like. She proved that excellence can thrive even in unprecedented times. And she did it without losing herself in the process. She did it while cultivating joy. She did it while honoring her own growth. She did it while refusing to let the world's limitations become her own. That's what Yolanda Harrington is talking about when she says cultivate joy and self worth. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about honoring the fact that you're still here, still growing, still trying. It's about giving yourself credit for the small wins. the quiet victories, the moments when you chose yourself even when it felt selfish. It's about recognizing that joy is not something you have to earn. It's something you deserve simply because you exist. It's about understanding that self worth is not a reward for good behavior, it's the foundation upon which everything else is built. Because here's the truth, sis, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't inspire others if you're running on fumes. You can't build a legacy if you're too exhausted to dream. And you can't enter your soft girl era if you're still wearing that superwoman cape like it's stitched to your skin. So let's talk about what it means to release the cape. What's one role, one mask, one responsibility you're no longer willing to carry? For some of you, it's the role of the family fixer, the one everyone calls when things fall apart. For others, it's the mask of having it all together, the one that says you're fine even when you're drowning. And for some of you, it's the responsibility of proving your worth over and over and over again to people who will never see you clearly anyway. Yolanda Harrington's interview reminded me that releasing the cape isn't about giving up. It's about giving yourself permission to be human. It's about redefining strength so that it includes rest, boundaries, and the audacity to say no without guilt. It's about recognizing that the cape was never yours to carry in the first place. It was handed to you by a world that benefits from your exhaustion, and you have every right to hand it back. And that's where the magic happens. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you finally have space to be something to yourself. When you stop grinding for validation, you start building for legacy. When you stop surviving and start thriving, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. You become the proof that softness is not weakness. You become the evidence that rest is productive. You become the permission slip someone else needs to believe that they deserve peace too. Ebony Kareem didn't build the beauty genie by burning herself out. She built it by being strategic, by seeking mentorship, by learning and growing and refusing to let rejection define her. Smaj Mills didn't create Embrace Dreams Company by hustling 24/7. They created it by staying connected to their purpose, by fostering meaningful conversations, by building something that mattered. Ursula Burns didn't become the first Black woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company by playing small. She did it by refusing to wait for permission, by building her own blueprint, and by mentoring others so they could rise too. These women didn't just survive, they thrived. And they did it by honoring their own growth, by protecting their peace, and by refusing to let the world's limitations become their own. They did it by cultivating joy, even when the world told them they should be grateful just to be in the room. They did it by believing that their self worth was non negotiable, even when everyone around them was trying to negotiate it down. So here's what I want you to take away from Yolanda Harrington's wisdom. Here's what I want you to remember long after you finish listening. First, resilience is essential. No matter what obstacles you face, never give up on yourself. But remember, resilience doesn't mean you have to do it alone. It doesn't mean you can't rest. It doesn't mean you have to keep grinding until you break. Resilience means you keep going, but you do it with wisdom, with grace, and with the understanding that your well being matters just as much as your goals. Second, your journey can inspire and uplift others. By persevering and showing up every day, you create opportunities not only for yourself, but for your community. You become the blueprint. You become the proof. You become the permission slip someone else needs to believe that their dreams are valid too. You become the evidence that it's possible to build something beautiful even when the world keeps trying to tear you down. And third, cultivate joy and self worth. Even in the face of adversity, try to find reasons to smile and honor your own growth. Joy is not a luxury. Self worth is not something you earn. These things are your birthright, and you deserve to protect them fiercely. You deserve to wake up every morning and choose yourself first. You deserve to build a life that feels good, not just a life that looks impressive on paper. Yolanda Harrington's work is a testament to what's possible when we stop surviving and start thriving, when we stop grinding and start grounding, when we stop proving and start being. Her impact is making the world softer, stronger, and more whole for women who've been taught that survival is the only option. And now it's your turn. Here's my challenge to you. I want you to identify one area of your life where you're still operating in survival mode. Just one. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's your relationships. Maybe it's the way you talk to yourself when no one else is listening. I want you to ask yourself, what would it look like to move from surviving to thriving in this area? What would it feel like to release the cape, to redefine strength, to cultivate joy and self worth without apology? And then I want you to take one action, one small, brave, uncomfortable action that moves you in that direction. Maybe it's setting a boundary you've been too scared to set. Maybe it's asking for help instead of pretending you have it all together. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to rest without feeling guilty about it. Maybe it's investing in your own growth, your own healing, your own joy, even when it feels selfish. Because here's the truth: the world doesn't need more exhausted Black women grinding themselves into the ground trying to prove they're worthy. The world needs more Black women who are rested, whole, joyful, and free. The world needs more women who understand that softness is not weakness, it's power. The world needs more women who refuse to let survival be their entire story. This is your soft girl era. This is your sacred pause. This is your permission to rest, to reset, and to redefine strength on your own terms without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. This is your invitation to stop performing resilience and start actually living in peace. This is your moment to recognize that you are not the cape, you are the woman underneath it, and she deserves to breathe. So take off the cape, put down the weight, release the roles that were never yours to carry, and step into the life you've been too busy surviving to actually live. Step into your softness, step into your joy, step into your power. Because, sis, the world is waiting for the real you, the rested you, the whole you, the you that's been waiting to bloom. And when you do, when you finally give yourself permission to be soft, to be joyful, to be free, you won't just change your own life, you'll change the lives of everyone watching. You'll become the permission slip, you'll become the proof, you'll become the blueprint. And that is how we change the world. Not by grinding harder, not by surviving longer, but by choosing ourselves first, by cultivating joy and self worth, by building lives that feel as good as they look, and by giving everyone around us permission to do the same. Welcome to your soft girl era. The world has been waiting for you.